Through Artemis, the twin sister of Apollo, we are returning to the moon. Artemis 1 will be the first flight test of each of these components. United together, this is the first of Artemis's arrows, capable of ushering in the next chapter of human lunar exploration. With each component playing its part in a grander effort, we, the people of the Artemis generation, all around this beautiful world, will bear witness to what we are capable of. Together, we are going back to the moon.
Good evening, everyone. Hello. How's everyone doing? I hope you're having a good day. Let me actually turn off this music that's going on in the background. So, we are going to have the live rollout of the Artemis, of the SLS, part of the Artemis program, and the very first time it's ever going to leave the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building at Kennedy Space Center. Now, my name is Liam Finn. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a NASA's JPL Solar System Ambassador. I will have two other people on with me who are also JPL Solar System Ambassadors as well. Let me bring in Timothy Campbell, first of all. Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you? Happy St. Patty's Day.
How are you excited about this?
This is pretty cool.
This is cool, isn't it? Very first time since the Apollo program, we've actually rolled out a brand new rocket. Like, okay, we did it with a space shuttle, but that's a little different. This is an actual rocket style, like similar to the Saturn V.
Shuttle couldn't go to the moon.
Yeah, shuttle was it. You are correct. The shuttle was actually just low Earth orbit, and now this is we're going to the moon again, right? We're going back to the moon, and it's not just going there for a spin around it, which we will initially, but it's actually going back to the moon and setting up a base. The plan is to set a base there at some point in orbit, and eventually to head to Mars. And the Artemis whole program is designed to get us to Mars again. So this will be cool.
Yeah, so iterations, right? So just like the Apollo program, rockets, build the better rockets, get them into orbit, prove that you can orbit, prove that you can do it with cargo, prove that you can do it with people, prove that you can escape the Earth's gravity, lap the moon, and then later stages to ultimately land.
Yep. So, like, we are a couple of years away from getting back to the moon as a plan. By the end of this year, during this year, we plan to go and orbit the moon with the SLS, and actually with the very rocket we see here that we're going to see here today, and then by 2024, the plan is to have people on the moon again. That's how fast this is going. And now Artemis is not just NASA though; it's NASA in conjunction with their own rockets and NASA in conjunction with SpaceX, because they have teamed up with SpaceX. SpaceX are going to be doing part of the Artemis program as well. They've already been contracted to do so. So this is going to be, it's not just NASA all the way anymore. It's let's get multiple agencies involved in this because other people can do various things different ways, and let's try and do it at the best way possible, right? So we are going to have one other person who's going to join us. He's not there yet. He was on his way out to he's at Kennedy Space Center. He is actually on his way out to the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building, where the rocket is right now. But his bus got lost on the way out there. The internal bus, they actually took a turn to avoid traffic, and they were heading towards the VAB, and they made a mistake and to avoid traffic, and that mistake cost them the ability to actually get where they want to be, and they kind of got stuck in traffic anyway. From what I hear from John, who will be joining us later, the traffic is insane out there. Everybody is so excited about this, and there is a limited number of press that are going to be there, but everybody is so excited about going out and being part of this and seeing this rocket roll out for a live dress rehearsal, is what their plan is over the next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to take it from the VAB, which is the Vehicle Assembly Building, roll it out on a crawler out to the launch pad, like was done with the Saturn and the Space Shuttle launches, and then leave it there, do some testing of the rocket while out there, then do some what's called a wet dress rehearsal, which means fuel it, run through the countdown process, just don't hit ignition, go through the rest of the process, and then when they're done with that, bring it back into the assembly building again, and then get it ready for the actual launch, which is planned for after June of this year. So it will not be before June, but it could be sometime in June or July, as long as they see no things they need to address prior to that. All going well, they will actually go live, and they will actually launch and orbit the moon sometime after June of this year.
Now, for the
I'm like a giddy school kid.
Yeah, so this vehicle is capable of bringing up a payload or crew.
Yes.
And for the dress rehearsal, it's equipped with, here's John McGill. So why don't you go ahead and mute me?
Okay, you can mute yourself on screen.
All right.
Yeah. So this is that's our other person that's out there. So John will actually give us a live feed from there when he gets there. We do have. Let me bring it up, and we do have the live feed from NASA themselves, and this is showing inside the VAB. So this is the rocket. In the very top section, you see there where all the cables are going in. That is where just in there is where the crew, the Orion spacecraft will be based. So this is going to be a live feed from inside the VAB, and soon it looks like the doors are not open yet. So they're actually going to open the VAB doors in a while. And this is going to be on a crawler, so like you saw with the space shuttles, and like you saw with the Saturn V's. Any of you who were around to see the Saturn V, I was not. I was when we went to the moon. I wasn't even born yet. So, but I'm a space advocate all my life, and astronomy advocate all my life. So, the goal would be that this is going to take a really slow, very slow walk to out to the launch pad this evening. Just say hi to everybody in chat. Say hi, Bionic and Just Gaming and DeWitt. How are you? So this is a live feed from inside NASA's VAB, Kennedy Space Center, and what you see there is the upper stage of the SLS rocket, which was where the Orion capsule and so on would be housed, and then eventually it could also be used for carrying cargo. And in a while, we will have somebody else there in a while. Hey, Free Heathen, how are you? And we will have somebody else there in a while with a live feed on camera showing this actually happening. So this feed is actually direct from NASA, and we will have another feed coming in soon once John, our on-site cameraman, gets there. So let's go over a little bit of details about the rocket, first of all. So this is part of the Artemis program, right? And the whole goal of the Artemis is to get back to the moon and eventually get to Mars. Now, this rocket is called the SLS, which is called a Space Launch System, right? It is huge. It is going to be moved on. It has to take a 4-mile trip from the VAB to the launch pad. Now, the weight of the rocket and at the speed of the crawler, it's going to take about 8 hours to get there. And we're not going to live stream all of that. We're going to be on for about an hour and a half. We want to see the VAB open up its bay doors. We want to see it coming out. We'll talk a little bit about the rocket and so on. So this is going to be for a wet dress rehearsal. So what is a wet dress rehearsal? It is a practice run and up to launch and countdown. So the rocket will be moved out to the pad, out to the launch pad. It'll be set up and connected as if it was a real launch. It'll be loaded with the fuel such as supercooled liquid oxygen, or also called LOX, and liquid hydrogen fuel. And then they will go through the process of going through countdown right up to 10 seconds before countdown, before liftoff, and they'll stop. It'll go through because this will all test their computers, their battery tests, and make sure everything's functioning. And the reason why they do this is they need to run through the process to make sure that, because they haven't done it in over 10 years, any type of launch from of their own rocket. So this is a brand new rocket. So they're going to go through that whole process. And so this is starting today. Now the plan is it's going to be out on the morning of April the 3rd. They are going to do the wet dress rehearsal by loading it with fuel. So up until then, They're going to get it in place, test everything, make sure everything's connected correctly, make sure everything functions. They can communicate with the rocket. And then on April 3, the goal is that at 7 a.m. Eastern time on April 3, the plan is to start the wet dress rehearsal, which means they're going to start loading it. They're going to go through the fueling. They're going to run through the process all the way up to 10 seconds before liftoff, and they will kill the process at that point. So once that's done, the plan is that sometime after June 1st, they haven't set a date yet, they will set this. So the wet dress rehearsal is 2 days, and then they'll bring it back into the VAB. And then sometime after June 1st, they plan to launch, and the launch will be to the moon. It will not be landing on the moon, but it'll be launching to the moon and going into orbit around the moon is the plan. Hey, Bryce, how are you? So let's see what else is happening. So we have not, the VAB doors look like they might be open there on the right-hand side. You see the door on the right side there, the gray side of the building? It looks like the door on the right-hand side is open. So that means it looks like they're getting ready to do this. As soon as we get our cameraman on site, he'll get some up close. He will be a lot closer than this camera is here. We're just waiting for this to happen. As I said, he was late getting the bus got detoured on the way there because of traffic, and once he gets out there on site, he will get his camera online, and we will get some video feed from him, from John McGill, who's also Solar System Ambassador, live on site. So guys, if you have any questions about the SLS, we will go over some stats in a while, but if you have questions, please type them into chat. We will do what we can. And yes, just gave me this is a feed from NASA and myself and Tim Campbell, who's also on stream. His video will come back on in a moment, and we will have a guy on site, John McGill. We are NASA JPL Solar System Ambassadors. So we're bringing you this because it's really cool that this new phase of spaceflight is happening, and is happening now. So the SLS has been developed over many years, and they're gotten to the point finally where they're getting ready to start, bring it out, test it, get it ready for launch, and all going well, sometime after June, it will launch, and we will actually put a craft in orbit of the moon that is capable of carrying cargo and people to the moon again. So let's see. We have Harmony. How are you? So lurking is good. Lurking is good. Everybody hanging out, chatting. That's good. If you have questions about the system, about the SLS, please let us know. They haven't left the VAB yet, so we're waiting to find out what's happening in the background. So let's talk a little bit about the rocket. Let me get you some information. So it has a main core stage, and the main core stage of the rocket, which you'll see in a while when it rolls out, has 4 RS-25 vacuum engines that are designed to run in space. It will also have attached 2 solid rocket boosters, which have RS-22 engines on it. And then above all of that, we will also have the Orion Stage, and the Orion Stage will include the rocket will actually bring the Orion capsule around the moon. It'll have a service module where the crew will live on the way to the moon. And then it will also have the crew capsule, which is the Orion capsule, where the crew will get into and go down, land on the moon. And then it will also have a service module, or the ability to return back from the moon again, and then join up again with the service module and head back to Earth, just like we did with the Apollo program. So it's a very similar design, much larger rocket than using Apollo, but very, very similar in design. Hey, Crafter, how are you? So any sign yet of them rolling out? It doesn't look like it. Not yet. So we are waiting. Let's see what NASA is saying. Let's see if they have any audio. They do not. Okay. So there's no audio coming in on that feed yet, because this is their media feed. I was waiting for it. Hey, John, how are you? So we are just waiting on that crawler to start moving and start making its way out of the VAB. We're not there yet. They have opened the bay doors. You see the bay door on the right-hand side is already open. So we should be, they are getting ready to prep. It takes 8 hours to travel 4 miles on the crawler. So it's a long, you are muted, Tim. You're talking to yourself. So it's a long, slow crawl. Let's see if Tim, did you get your audio back yet? No?
Okay, I pulled it off the computer now. You can hear me?
Okay, we can hear you a little bit now.
Yeah, so John's on the phone, and at the Cape, he's never seen so many people.
Hey, can you up your volume a little bit?
Yeah. Let me see if I can do that. How do I do that?
You go into settings, select audio, and then you can change your audio settings. I can do it for you, actually. Let me do it for you.
All right.
Let me just go into your audio. I can do it from here. Because it's kind of low. It's set to automatic, but I'm going to bump it up. Okay, try that.
Okay, how do I sound now?
That's much better. So I know he said it was crazy. When I spoke to John before we went live, he said it was insane the amount of traffic that's there and the amount of people that are there.
So he cannot get the streamcast. He cannot get the page to load. And he's trying to do a speed test, and he's getting smoke signals.
Too many people there are killing the cell system.
On the StreamYard.
He says he's 80% loaded on StreamYard. He's collecting firewood and wet newspapers, and we'll start sending smoke signals.
Oh well, we'll still see it from the live feed, right? So
all right.
Either way, but yeah, well, if he can get it up and when he get it working when he gets there, fine. But if not, then okay. But it'd be nice that if we can have his feed. There's so many people at the Cape right now, guys, that they are flooding the cell network in the whole area, and nobody can get comms. So unless you have your own satellite uplink, which we don't have, sadly, unless you have your own satellite uplink, you're sadly going to be stuck combating everybody else for internet connectivity through the mobile devices. Anyway, are you already there, John? Are you already at the VAB?
Yeah, I'm on the crawlerway, just to the south side of the crawlerway.
Okay.
And we have the SLS rocket. It's we can see it here. The VAB, the doors are open on it, and right now what I'm looking at is the superstructure of the launcher, or the the support for the rocket.
Yes.
And, the rocket is hidden by the superstructure of the launcher, and the rocket is facing inside of the VAB, so that's why I can't actually see the rocket right now.
Yeah.
It should be getting ready to move at any minute. The crawler is underneath the transporter, and we're getting ready to go. So hopefully in the next 15 minutes it starts moving.
Yeah, that'd be great. We actually have a feed we just switched over to an aerial feed that is actually orbiting the VAB. And for those of you who don't know, the VAB has been around since the Apollo program. This has been all the Saturn V and so on were all assembled in this building, and the space shuttle was assembled, and everything was put together in this building. So now it is time for the Artemis program and the SLS to go through the same process, and they assemble the stages here in this building. So this is really cool live feed, and so we see the superstructure, the same feed that you're seeing, John. So that's like this, like on the SpaceX devices, they call it the strongback, where the rocket is mounted against.
Yeah, and actually on the SpaceX, it's laying flat. It's not upright.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but when you're standing up, it's similar to the strongback that holds up the SpaceX rocket. It tilts out and moves out of the way. It's a similar type of setup. It actually encompasses the rocket inside it.
Another name for the SpaceX one is the erector.
Yeah.
Because it tilts up, so they call it the vector launcher.
Yeah, it actually because this one here for the SLS is actually built and assembled vertically, and then they roll it out vertically and park it and into the launch tower, and then the crawler moves away, leaving part the superstructure that you see there behind, which is actually left behind as part of the mounting it into the launch pad. So this is a nice feed. Let's see if we have any audio from them. We do not. Still no audio yet. It's just doing a flyby.
Oh, you've got. Is it that you've muted over here?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
No, there's no audio coming. There it is right now. There's the SLS rocket. So what we're seeing is the other side of that, the back of it. There it goes. It's starting to move. Is it? I think, John, is it?
I have not seen it move yet.
No, yeah, I don't think so.
I saw the top of it move a little bit.
I'm looking at the base at the crawler and against the door of the VAB, and I don't see it move. So maybe it's just flexing a little bit.
Yeah, I'm comparing it's probably just flexing a little bit with the breeze and so on down there, maybe, yeah. Yeah, so so it's not getting ready to take off, Bryce. What's actually going to happen is this is a wet dress rehearsal, so they're actually going to take the rocket, the SLS rocket, it's a brand new rocket, and they're going to bring it out to the launch pad, park it in its position on the launch pad, and then in early of next month, on the 3rd of next month, they're actually going to go through what's the full wet dress rehearsal, which means they're going to load it with fuel. They're going to go through a countdown as if it's a real live launch, and stop 10 seconds before where they normally kick off ignition to do the pre-igniters and so on under the rocket to get it launched. So they're going to go all the way just to 10 seconds beforehand to run through the process. And if everything goes well there, the plan is sometime after June 1st. They said not before June 1st. Is what they're going to do is sometime after June 1, they are going to plan to launch this. And when they do launch it, it's going to do one orbit of the Earth and then move out and accelerate. And when it gets once around the Earth, it'll be on the opposite side from Earth from the Moon. And when it's on the opposite side, it'll accelerate and slingshot out towards the Moon. And when it gets into orbit of the Moon, the plan is to spend 6 days orbiting the Moon and then eventually bring it back towards Earth again. No, they're not going to land it, but they are going to bring it back back towards Earth, and they'll probably bring it into orbit and splash down in the South Pacific, I believe, is the goal. Hey, Bear, how are you? So yeah, it is flexing its muscles a bit in that nice Floridian strong breeze that's there almost every day. So that's probably why it appears to be shifting a little bit.
Yeah, we have about a 15-20 mile an hour breeze here right now.
Oh,
yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's probably what's doing it. Yeah.
Plus, it's going through the VAB. They got the doors open on both ends of the VAB, so
it's a bit of a
stiff wind that would be going through that tunnel effect.
Wind tunnel, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we actually have a view right now from NASA's live feed. We are actually on the other side. We are actually seeing a rocket, whereas you're seeing the superstructure behind it. So so what we saw earlier on was a superstructure like you're seeing, but now we actually have a view from inside the VAB looking at the rocket.
Yeah, the only thing that I see of the rocket is just a little portion of the bottom of the solid rocket boosters.
The SRBs on the side, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so 20 miles per hour is a nice stiff breeze, I would say, and that's about average for Florida in most days.
We have a video feed. We can see the top of it, John, and
yes.
On the top of because this is the crew capsule instead of the cargo capsule, we can see the launch abort system on top of that.
Okay, that launch abort system, I don't know if you remembered, but we did a AFE segment on that launch abort when I was out here for that test. And that test was, they put the launch abort in an Orion capsule on top of a Minuteman rocket, and they launched that from Cape Canaveral. That's the Air Force side of the base down here, and that went up, and it had a nice separation where it pulled the rocket off of, or it pulled the capsule off of the rocket, simulating Um,
An abort system. Yeah.
that would happen during the launch to keep our astronauts safe.
Yeah.
And that test was very successful.
So what John is referring to, if you see the very top of the rocket there, that little spike that's in the top of the rocket, and it comes out to a slight cone, that's actually attached to the Orion capsule. So when, in the case of something going wrong with the rocket, when everything's getting ready, or during launch, or just as launch is happening, they can actually hit an abort option, and that what happens is three rockets, or the four rockets on that top nose cone, the very pointy tip of the rocket there, will ignite and pull the spacecraft with the crew in it away from the rocket at a Mach. They experience 3 or 4 Gs doing that, and it pulls it away from them, and then it releases, and then the parachute of the crew capsule are released so they can actually land softly. So that.
Nope.
Right, hear what John is saying.
Yeah, I lost you. Lost your audio. Let me see if I can get it back there. Okay, you're back now, John.
Okay, those would be the same parachutes that are used for the normal reentry of the Orion. Yeah. And I just got word that it's going to roll at 5:45. So
okay,
5:45. That's in 20 minutes. Okay, so let's go over some specs. John, tell us a little bit about the crawler while you're there.
Okay, the crawler that was used for the Apollo missions, and then it was refitted also for the space shuttle missions. And now they went and they rebuilt it again, and they put in some heavier duty bearings because it's a few million pounds more. This rocket is than the shuttle was. And what it's using is basically like diesel locomotive engines. And what diesel locomotive engines are, it's a diesel motor that powers an electric motor. And the reason why they do that is because there's infinite torque at the infinite different speeds of an electric motor compared to a diesel engine. You know, when you think of a diesel engine, you think of a semi-truck where you have 13 speeds and it has to keep shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with an electric system like this, and this is the same that, like I say, locomotives use. They use the diesel engine to power an electric motor, and the electric motor is what's doing the drive. And they also use that same system on freighters. You know, the freighters that go up and down the Detroit River and out in the ocean. You know, the big tankers. So that's one thing about the crawler. The other thing about the crawler is
one second, John. So this system was used, or this carrier system was used in the Apollo program. So this carrier system that they're using is older than I am.
This is the third iteration of it. So it was the first iteration was Apollo, and the second iteration was the space shuttle, and now it's redone for the Space Launch System, which is the heaviest, biggest rocket that NASA has made to date.
Yeah, Ebbett has made a comment about the transmissions. The transmissions on the trains would get torn up, and they realized that they needed to just get rid of the transmission entirely, and that's the other advantage of using a diesel generator and then an electric motor.
Yeah. So, and now this crawler has a maximum speed with nothing on it of 2 miles per hour, right? But today, with fully loaded, it'll be running at a maximum speed of 0.7 or 0.8 of a mile per hour.
Is what I read.
Yeah, that's its maximum speed. So it's got 4 miles to go, and it's going to travel less than 1 mile per hour. So it's going to take it more to go 4 miles. Is going to take it over 8 hours to get there, and that's not taking in any areas they need to slow down or any areas they need to stop temporarily.
Yeah, and
that's when people move at Costco. I agree. That's a good point. So this thing crawls.
Corners, up to 6 feet to, to level things out or whatever they have to do.
Yeah.
So, if they come to an uneven point, and basically when they start to go up to the launch pad at 39B, there is a steady incline, and so they have to keep the rocket level. So, like I say,
6
it can
feet,
be raised up to 6 feet to keep it level,
Almost-
to handle a pretty good incline.
almost enough to handle Michigan potholes.
That's a good point.
They got the track, so it can
Well, that's practice for the moon, right? So basically, what John is saying is the top platform where the rocket is mounted, as it goes uphill or as it meets uneven surfaces, they can actually tilt that platform to ensure that the rocket stays perfectly upright. So and there is an incline and climb up there. So as it climbs, they will actually raise the back of it. So as a crawler climbs up, the back of it, as a crawler climbs up, the back of it will actually lift to keep the rocket level as it comes up. And when it gets to the top, it brings it back down again.
Okay, I think you might start seeing some movement with your
Yeah,
line.
we are seeing a little bit of movement.
They are lifting the launch platform right now.
Okay.
Okay, so they're starting to raise the launch platform to get ready to move it out. Now, tell us a little bit. Okay, now what they're traveling on is a specially made stone road, and it's designed so it doesn't conduct static electricity. The stone is specially selected, so there's no static electricity involved in the motion and no sparks. Tell me a bit more about that, John.
Yeah, it's a quartz-based rock. It's not, your typical stone, but it's a lake rock that they get or river rock that they get from Alabama and sometimes Tennessee and one other place. I can't remember exactly where it was. But what had happened was when they first had the crawler out here, they had a blacktop crawler weight, and the blacktop, it turned out that it was too sticky when they had that much weight on with the tracks and stuff, and
the heat as well in Florida wouldn't help. Yeah,
the blacktop. So they come up with the idea of using this river rock, and this river rock acts like ball bearings that the tracks run on. So it makes it easier for the tracks to turn when they get to a turn, and also it cushions the crawler transporter. And the specific size of the rock that they use, it's 3 to 4 inches in diameter. And once the crawler goes over it, it actually smashes some of these rocks and pulverizes it. And these rocks, they get about a 10-year use out of it. And then it's like, cement or a freeway where they have to resurface it again. So about every 10 years back in the shuttle days, they would replace it because it would get too ground up, and then it would hold water, and it would just turn into more like a dust or pulverized rock. So it's only lasts for so many trips. It's not like these same rocks would have been out here for the Apollo.
Just guys, the noise that you hear in the background is John. There's 20 mile an hour wind blowing there. So with all that wind, it's actually interfering with John's microphone. So when you hear the crackling sound, that's what you're hearing. He's actually out there right now watching this. His view is something similar to what we're seeing here right now. But because the cell network there is overloaded, John can't bring you his own live feed, because there are so many people there to watch this that all the cellular networks in the area are flooded. So, and we don't have, and you need to have your own sat uplink to be able to get data transmission out of there at the moment.
This viewing area that we're at, it's basically all the grass areas outside of the VAB, and it goes all the way back to the media center, which is probably a half mile away. And it's nothing but people, and people with umbrellas, tables, chairs. It looks like the beach on the 4th of July. There's even people throwing the frisbees around, balloons. It's a real party out here.
It sounds like it was similar to what it used to look like when we saw the old footage of the Saturn V launches. When you have the roadways would be lined, people would be having picnics, and the whole family would be out and make it a whole day event.
And that's what the whole difference, though, is that was for a launch. This isn't even for a launch. This is just for the debut of this rocket.
And eventually a dress rehearsal, yeah.
I mean, people have their coolers out here. They're to trying to get in here. It's just unbelievable sight. I'm really happy to see this.
Wow.
So, just just as John described, right now, Kennedy Space Center is party center right now.
It's a party.
So hopefully, okay, there's a view from inside the VAB. So what we're seeing a while ago, what we saw was what we see the superstructure there on the right hand side, or on our left hand side of the screen. So soon we should see this starting to move, and so that superstructure will actually move out and the rocket become visible. But you're now seeing the area where the crew capsule is on top, and the for the SLS or for the Orion spacecraft, and also the launch abort system above that.
Oh, one more quick little tidbit about this crawler is that it has a woman that is the lead driver on this mission, and she's under 30 years old, and so she wasn't even around during the days of the space shuttle, but she's in control and in command of this move. So it's pretty, it's something to see this.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, that's one hell of a responsibility to actually drive that thing for 8 hours out to a launch pad and keep it perfectly level and hope that you don't hit the brakes too fast. It's I'm not sure it's the responsibility I would like.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, they have markings on the rocket, and you've probably seen it from like crash dummies where they'll have the black and white squares.
Yeah, we can see some now.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are to make sure that it's level as it's traversing the crawler way.
Oh, so they can. So they probably have cameras watching it as well. Remote cameras watching it.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, cool. So we see somebody up on the gantry watching there. I think they could be about to get ready, because up until now we saw other views in here. We saw nobody up there, so we have no audio at all from NASA, which is kind of weird. Can you check? Let's take that out for a second. Can you check that, Tim? Make sure audio is working on your side. So let me know if you can get it working, because for some reason it's not going over here.
If you have to go to the public channel, not the media channel.
I am on the.
I am on public.
Has the commentary.
Yeah. This side up. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, we are all holding our breaths on this one. Let me bring
I
it
don't
back.
hear any audio from NASA.
Yeah, so maybe
We tried the
what's
other.
happening is it looks like they're getting ready. Audio for us is working, but there's no audio feed coming in from NASA's feed, which is kind of unusual, but okay. If you want to mute yourself there, Tim, and see if you can get the audio feed from NASA working.
Sure. Now,
Just mute yourself, and then I'll take it out. I'll take this out, and you can play with it. And if you can get it working, let me know. Because we are really close to this thing getting moving. You want to be an astronaut? Yeah. You're a little. I don't think you're too old for it now at this point to even get in the program. I think, Matt. But we're close. I think we're very close. They said 45. That is in 6 minutes. So all going well. And in about 6 minutes, we should see it heading out. So let's see if we can get this going. But this is going to be really cool. You are seeing for the very first time the crew capsule area of the SLS that encompasses the the Orion spacecraft. Sorry, I had to think there for a moment.
So I did mute and cranked up the volume, and I don't believe there is an audio track on.
Okay, so
NASA
okay.
has two streams. One is a media stream, which has no audio accompaniment, and the other one is the public stream that does have usually audio and commentary going on. But right now, neither of them, they're both showing the same video, and neither of them have audio.
Okay. All right, then we'll just wait to see if they come online. But anyone have any questions about the rockets? Let's talk a little bit about the rockets, Tim.
Here's another little tidbit about the crawler.
Okay.
It moves 32 feet per gallon. So it takes about 168 gallons per mile. So
And it's got 4 miles.
It has a 5,000 gallon gas tank or fuel tank. So it can go pretty far.
I will never, ever, ever complain about the mileage on my truck ever again.
Yeah, it gets almost as bad a fuel mileage as my boat.
Probably close to. Yeah, that's yeah, guys, we're all happy. Like in future, if anyone says is your truck fuel economy got good fuel economy, the answer is compared to the NASA crawler, yes. That would be a good answer from now on.
So this is the first of three, right? This
Yes.
is the block 1. Then there will be a block 1B, and then there will ultimately be a block 2.
Correct.
Okay.
So go on, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna start asking you questions.
Okay, well, the block 1, which is actually designed to bring crew.
Now, block 2 is built and block 3 is being built. So
Yeah.
first 3 are either built or in production. And I did talk with the Lockheed Martin engineer today about the Lunar Rover, and Lockheed is building that in joint venture with GM, our own General Motors. So you know how GM is building the autonomous cars, and the Lunar Rover is going to be autonomous. And I have word that the Lunar Rover is going to be on the moon waiting for our first astronauts to arrive.
So they'll send it ahead as part of maybe as part of the second mission, which is going to go to the moon and land. They'll probably send it as part of that and leave it behind.
Commit to when, where, who's sending it or what rocket it's going on. All they confirmed was that it was going to be there before the astronauts arrived. So
this being the Artemis program, then this could either be brought there by the SLS, or it could end up being delivered by SpaceX, because SpaceX is already part of the Artemis program as well, and they already have contracts to get people to the moon.
So that's only a conjecture. There's no confirmation.
No, it's on their website. It's on their website. They say they list SpaceX as part of the Artemis program.
Well, that is kind of interesting, because that means that they have to have 2 landers that are able to land in extremely close proximity to each other. So in the original Apollo missions that were essentially partially landed by computer and partially by people, there was, quite a oval of uncertainty of where it would ultimately sit down. And you could
our orbital knowledge and trajectory knowledge has vastly come leaps and bounds. And we must remember, the Apollo program to get to the moon was somebody was steering it down to the lander to the moon, first of all. And it was kind of, we have this big, long ellipsoid that we're going to land within. And if we get there, we're happy. And we have got the math so good. And that was all testing and learning back then. Now we have got the math down. We know all about the mass of the moon. We know more about the orbital insertion requirements. We know about the orbital trajectories and the landing. And we know exactly what the gravity we're dealing with, because we have probes going on the moon for years. So we can probably get it down to maybe a half-mile radius, probably more than likely.
And the moon has lumpy gravity. It's not uniform as you're flying over it.
What we're planning on doing is a system similar to InSight, where they're going to, drop it down to the surface, kind of like a skyhook.
So that's interesting. So they're going to release it and then use the rocket like Mars Insight, where they had a rocket propelled lander system that actually brought it to the ground, dropped it on wires so it touched the ground, and then released the wires and then fired the rocket and move away from the area.
So for Apollo, which I think was 14, 15, 16, and 17, all had rovers. It was folded into sort of the side of the lunar, the LEM, the lander module, right? And so once the LEM landed, and it was sort of folded up in an interesting way that it sort of sprung open and self-assembled. And we are at 5:45 now. Are we getting any movement down there, John?
I don't see any movement. You'll probably see the movement from your video feed.
Yeah, I'm watching closely. I don't see any movement of the superstructure yet, but I'm watching the superstructure in alignment with the opening of the door to see. So if we'll see that shift happening, but it'll be a very, very slow shift, I'm assuming, to even like they probably won't even reach 1/10 of a mile per hour coming to crawl out of there before, and then once they get orientated, then they'll actually bring up to speed slowly. I'm guessing.
Yeah, what I heard was they're going to move it so far, and then there's going to be okay. They're saying get ready now. So
okay, good. So just so you know, everybody knows John McGill, who we can't get video for because the cell network is flooded, because there's so many people there. John is actually live. He's actually seeing a similar view to us. He's actually live in the Cape right now, giving us live commentary of what's happening. So he just got told that they're getting ready to start moving this thing, and we're going to see the very first version of the SLS leave the vehicle assembly building.
Now
they don't have a crawler cam on this. Maybe in the future they may do one.
It's going to be behind the rocket, behind the VAB, so it'll be illuminating the SLS perfectly once it gets out of the shadow of the vehicle assembly building.
Okay, sure. I just want to do a reintroduction. So, Alice, some of you guys know me from my streams. So my name is Liam Finn. I'm a NASA JPL Solar System Ambassador, and I'm also in some other maker communities and so on. The person right below me is Timothy Campbell. Tim Campbell is also Solar System Ambassador with NASA JPL. And the person that we have on audio right now is John McGill, who's a Solar System Ambassador. But John is also a launch photographer for rocket launches at Kennedy. So he has gone out to Kennedy for many times. He's done lots of launches. So you can actually find him. It's John Jack McGill on Facebook. Go find him on Facebook, and he has a lot of really cool videos and photographs he's taken of launches. You often see these beautiful images of the remote cameras taking all the different stages of the rocket taking off. Well, John is one of those guys that goes out there and sets up for many launches. And he's live on site right now. So we have live commentary from a fellow Solar System Ambassador. And John, and both Tim and John, and myself, we're all from Michigan. But John gets the cool stuff. We get to watch it. John gets to actually live it. So.
There's a few of us from Michigan down here. There's a few guys from the west side of the state, a couple guys from up by Fenton, and we even got the third degree by the security here when we were coming onto the base. And when I came through, he says, "Another one from Michigan. What's up with all you guys down here?" So we have quite a few fans of the rocket program down here that are in the media.
So let's talk a little bit about the Artemis mission, because they haven't. I don't see them moving yet, but they're getting ready to. So let's talk about Artemis, the mission 1, right? Artemis 1. The goal would be to launch and orbit the moon. So it's planned for this summer. It'll be sometime after June 1st. After liftoff from Kennedy Space Center, Artemis 1 will make a quick one lap around Earth, and when it's on the opposite side of Earth, it will start accelerating to increase its speed to leave Earth's gravity and head towards the moon. And when it gets to the moon, right, the capsule will orbit 62 kilometers above the moon's surface.
It's starting, guys. It's starting.
Okay, let's watch this live.
I hear the
Come on,
applause.
NASA, switch over. We're waiting for NASA to switch over their live feed. They're still showing us the VAB far out. Okay, they're starting to zoom maybe. Thanks for sharing the stream, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, so it's getting ready to orientate. They're moving the camera and they're going to start to zoom in, and hopefully we'll get they'll switch over to their close-up camera in a moment. I'm going to get to see a live feed. So this is getting ready to move now.
We're getting some audio. All right, do you have that channel muted, Jim?
Through Artemis,
There we go.
the twin sister of Apollo, we are returning to the moon. Artemis 1 will be the first flight test of each of these components. United together, this is the first of Artemis's arrows, capable of ushering in the next chapter of human lunar exploration. With each component playing its part in a grander effort, we, the people of the Artemis generation, all around this beautiful world, will bear witness to what we are capable of. Together, we are going back to the moon.
Okay, it looks like it's moving. So let's get that feedback up.
Good afternoon and welcome into the iconic Vehicle Assembly Building at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I am Megan Cruz, and today you will witness history in the making. That right there is the world's most powerful rocket, NASA's Space Launch System, or SLS, and on top, the Orion spacecraft that will return us to the moon. We are reigniting our passion for discovery today by rolling this integrated system out of the VAB for the first time ever. That roll started just a few seconds ago, and now both SLS and Orion are headed to historic Launch Pad 39B for a critical test that will help determine if we are ready for Artemis 1. Artemis 1 is an uncrewed test flight of SLS, Orion, and the ground systems here at Kennedy. If all goes well, Orion will orbit the moon farther than any of the Apollo missions before it. Artemis 2 will have astronauts on board when it orbits the moon. And then Artemis 3 and future missions will land the first woman and the person of color on the moon's surface. The last time a person stepped foot on the moon.
I'm going to move this out for a second. He's going to bring up the second feed, and we'll get to see that. So 1 second while we bring that online.
Let's see if I get this.
So the SLS is starting to move out. The crawler is slowly but moving. We're just moving over the live feed. We're going to add up the new stream, and there we can see we have an aerial view. Look at the crowds down here, guys. Look at those crowds right there by the VAB, and actually on both sides. Look at the amount of people that are out there in cars.
So inside, they just had an inside view, and we could see it sliding there. You can probably see it moving a little bit.
Yeah, it's doing what it's supposed to do, crawl, literally crawling. And we're going to get our first view in, it'll probably take 15 minutes to come out far enough, but we'll get our first view of the SLS rocket. So this is super cool, guys.
Now, the crawler's also holding the mobile launch system, right? The John? I don't know if John can hear me.
It is, yeah. It holds a mobile launch system as
So
well.
so there's a mobile launcher that it's going to fit onto the pad. That's on the crawler. That will stay. Well, this is a dry run, but that will stay on the day when it really does launch.
Yeah, and then after the launch, they'll bring it back in and reuse it. So look at they have music and all.
They've got a band.
We don't have that. There's no audio in this feed. This
no
is
audio here.
This is the media feed. How do they calculate the ideal speed for a crawler? Well, they couldn't. Well, first of all, it's standing vertically. So imagine the rocket being like a sail. As you move, you have all that inertia to deal with, and they don't want to do that. So the slower they go, the less jiggling they'll do of the rocket, and the less chance of it falling over. So there it is, moving very slowly.
definitely tell it's moving now.
Yeah, you can definitely see it moving. This is this is
Yeah,
back. Yes, John.
Maybe 100, 150 yards from the doors of the VAB. So it's going to take a while for it to get out to me. But
Yeah, we have a view from inside, John. We just showed a view from inside, and we can definitely see it moving. They had a camera inside the VAB showing it moving out and moving. So we're back to that feed right now. So the top speed of the crawler is 2 miles per hour. Yes, but when it's moving the rocket, its max speed will be 0.8 of a mile per hour.
And those John mentioned earlier, you can see those 2 black squares sort of diagonally on the left and right of the top. And John tells us that those are there so that with the aid of cameras, they can tell if it is leaning. That helps them keep it vertical.
Yeah, they can monitor it with remote cameras to tell its tilt. So they can, and then they feed that back to the crawler, which adjusts to keep the spacecraft level. Even when they're going up the hill, up to the launch pad, there is an incline, but it's a steady incline. They actually have to tilt as the crawler tilts to go up the hill. They actually have to tilt up the spacecraft to keep it level at all times as they climb that hill.
Yeah, they actually use like surveyor lasers, and they focus on those points.
Cool. So yeah. All right. So they're using lasers to monitor it. If you look to your side, you can see that it's actually moving out past the doors there. Right. Very slowly, it's approaching the superstructure. Is on its way out.
Yeah.
As I was saying, I think it's going to move so far, and they're going to do like a 1 hour hold and check everything out, check all, the lockdown points, and just make sure everything's still go.
Sure. Now they do that after the vehicle is completely outside of the building?
Yeah, it'll be maybe 50 yards outside the building or more before they do the hold on it.
But we'll get to see it in full daylight, in full sunshine, because once you get outside the VAB, once you get maybe 20 feet or so away from it, or 30 feet away from it, the sun will illuminate the whole thing, it looks like.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like a photographer's dream for the way it's...
Yeah, it would be, perfect lighting.
And we should have golden hour with it too. If any photographers out there will know what golden hour is.
Sunset, yeah.
Explain that.
Yeah, and dusky blue sky, that's when the sun has set. But first it starts when the sun is extremely low, and the atmosphere, red light can penetrate the atmosphere more easily than blue light, and so the sky starts to glow golden. Then at one point the sun actually goes down, and you get that dusky blue background, and the lighting is just amazing.
Oh, Tim, can you do me a favor? Message Chris Perillo and tell him to host this, please.
Chris?
There's someone in the maker community, but he can host the because we're feeding out to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and I'm going to ask Chris Perillo. No, not you, Tim Dewitt 3D.
Oh, gotcha.
He's there. If he messages him, he knows him, and if he messages him, he will actually host it on his channel as well. So get more eyes on this. This is super cool.
The superstructure almost out.
Yes, we can start to see that. There we go. Zoom in. There is where the driver sits. Look at that thing. It's these guys have an 8-hour walk out to the launch pad. You can just about, if you watch really closely, you can just about see those tracks move.
This reminds me of an Austin Powers movie with a steamroller.
It's beautiful right now. I see the full SRB on. It would be, if you're looking at it from the inside, it would be to your right. But to me, at this point, it's on the south side of the VAB.
Yeah,
It's beautiful SRB on there.
Now we can see that we're actually looking at the crawler and the launch superstructure, and we can see the SRB on the left hand side of the feed.
Yep.
Where we cannot. Well, we can just about see the base of the rocket as well. So we have lots of people out there who are hosting this feed, which is great, to show this on their Twitch channels. But thank you guys. So if you have questions about the SLS or about Orion spacecraft or about what all this is about, please feel free to type them into chat. We will address them. And as I said, we already have somebody on site. He's supposed to do a video feed, but the cellular network is blown out because there's so many people there. So we have John will give us commentary on what's happening, and then we have both myself and Tim Campbell, who's here on screen with me. Actually, if you go talk about STLs, the guys in the 3D printing community, if you the STLs for the SLS are on, you can get them online. They're on the NASA's website.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that.
So yeah, if you get it, and Tim, you can throw it into chat or put it into private chat, and I'll paste it out there. So we're starting to see past the superstructure now, and we're seeing the SLS. So this is my version. This the STL is out there. This is my 3D printed version of it.
So I'm gonna give you the
Paste it in the private chat is all you have to do, and I'll then paste it in here
for everybody else. Now, just a word for anyone that wants to. So NASA has two versions of 3D models, and some of these models are meant for example, augmented reality. You want the geometry. You're not actually going to print it. They have another section, but it's on the same page for models that they think you should actually be able to print.
Yeah. Hey guys, how are you? If you have any questions, please. Jerry, first time to the moon, wrong, but okay. So we're starting to see the rocket now, as attached to superstructure. So the upper area you're seeing there, the point at the top, is actually the launch abort system. Below that will be the Orion capsule, and the vehicle that will actually take them to the moon. And in the orange area, the dark orange area, that's below that, and the two white rockets on each side. Two white ones are SRB, solid state booster rockets, that assisted to get into higher orbit, and then they will fall off, and then the main engine will carry it up into orbit into orbit of the planet Earth. No, we do not work for JPL. We are both myself, Tim Campbell, and the guy who's on audio, John McGill. We are solar system ambassadors for NASA JPL. So we do a lot of outreach and public talking and so on for NASA. And because we're into astronomy, physics, science, we're nerds, right? Nerds rule, guys. Nerds rule. But and since this is the first time we're going to see a brand new rocket being getting prepped, it is going to be prepped for dress rehearsal, a wet dress rehearsal. But you can see a brand new rocket that was being recently built. It's been 10 years outside of private entities. It's 10 years since NASA had its own rocket. And this is the last one I had was 11 years ago. Sorry, was the space shuttle. So they had rockets that brought the space shuttle into low Earth orbit. But this rocket is designed to go to the moon and possibly to Mars as well.
Mm-hmm. That's the plan.
Yep, that is the goal. Was this one that was reusing shuttle? Some of parts of it, yes, are based on shuttle era stuff. Not an awful lot, but some of the concepts and some of the components were, but a lot of it is a new design. That's why it's taken so long to get there. A lot of it is a new design, and this is a bigger and heavier rocket than the Saturn V. There are talks of NASA planning to eventually do SLS as reusable. They haven't. It's not in the first 3 blocks that they're going to do, but there are talks of doing it. But SpaceX are already offer reusable rockets, so it is they already have that capability via SpaceX. So we can see the superstructure is completely out, and we can see the rocket out there. So hopefully they'll swing over and change to a closer up view so we'll get to see or pull it out further so we get to see it in sunlight and get a good view of it.
Boy, what a spectacular view out here.
It looks fantastic here. We're also jealous, you know that, John. Everybody on here is jealous of you because you're standing there watching this, and we get a video feed.
The sun is shining right through the vehicle assembly building and lighting up on the orange of the SLS rocket. And,
thank you, Tim.
Off the SRB. It's a beautiful sight.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal. And this, you must remember, this is Block 1. Block 2 and Block 3 are going to be a little bit bigger than this because they're designed for further, deeper missions and longer missions. You're all in shock that I scrub up so well. Thank you. That's a good shock, Kieran. Kieran is in Australia. Kieran is he's a Kiwi that lives in Australia that has an Irish passport. Talk about confused.
Hey, we got to thank those Kiwis for the communication systems.
Oh, John, by the way, John, your audio is kind of weak.
Your side of the world, they take over, and that's our communications.
That's correct. Well, yeah, there is a DSN network in it's in Australia actually, not New Zealand.
We have a pin for that this year, don't we?
Yes, mine is.
I can show you that. There you go.
Yeah, here. I can put you full screen if you want to see. If you want to share.
I don't need to go to the full screen for the pen, but
there you go.
50 years of the. I guess you got to rotate it. It's also confusing when you're mirrored, but 50 years of the Deep Space Network. Yep.
Oh, darn, it's the wrong one. Let me remove this and go back here and then add this back in again. So, did NASA release a 3D printable models for the SLS? Yes. If you go to NASA let me give you the link for it, actually. Tim just gave me the link.
Yep.
These are the printable models. Let me copy that out and I'll put it into chat so anybody can go in there. These are all of NASA's printable models. They have two types of 3D models. They have 3D where you can actually use them and look at them. And the other one is, with the link I just shared, is actually, the other one that I just shared is actually all the printable models. So there's a better feed apparently, Tim. The space flight now have their own feed, but they have their own satellites too. They're using their own uplinks. So that's why they have a close-up. NASA should swing over to the close-up soon, I hope. I think they're waiting till it comes out of the VAB, and then they'll do the close-ups of it. But this is kind of cool. What do you guys think? Very first time in 10 years that NASA has their own rocket again that's designed to go back not only to low Earth orbit, but also to go to the Moon and Mars. So, anyone have any questions about the rocket? Okay, anybody, any questions at all? Please feel free. Is John talking?
Yes.
I cannot hear him.
Perspective. Building a 35-story building.
I don't hear him. His audio is too low.
He's as loud as he was before.
Yeah, it's probably the signal down there. It's probably yeah, there's going to be no launch to this. So the whole purpose of this, I'll just reiterate what's happening. This is the SLS. The building you see, first of all, is the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building. And that has been used since the Apollo program. Okay, it's been there a long time. And it was also used during the shuttle program, and now it's been used for the SLS program and Artemis. And the whole purpose of Artemis is for us to go back to the Moon and beyond to Mars as well. And the rocket is called the SLS. It's a Space Launch System. It is not reusable. Bryce, this is not reusable. There we go, a beautiful close-up of the SRBs on each side, the central main fuel tank, all the way up, and this main superstructure. That is a fantastic view.
There we go, with the solid rocket boosters. Once they launch those, they can't turn them off.
Yeah, they're solid. Yeah, the SRBs, the white ones, once they're ignited, it's a solid fuel. It burns until it's done. and then when they're spent, they're discarded. And then the central engine, the orange one in the center, that one they can control it. They can vary its thrust and so on as they launch the vehicle.
4 RS-25 engines.
On the primary, yes. On the main one is 4 RS-25, and the SRBs has RS-22, and it has RS-22s on it.
And when you think of a rocket engine, they have
Oh,
on the bottom.
That's a good question.
Control where the thrust goes, and so they have an
Um,
system.
Can you hear?
Oh,
You can't hear John?
no.
Oh, I didn't change anything.
Huh.
John, try talking again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
That's better.
Okay, what I was going to say is that your main rocket engines, those are how they steer the rocket.
Yep.
And what happens is they have a bell on them, and the bell is on a gimbal, and so that can change directions of where it's sending the thrust, and it's kind of like a jet drive on a jet ski, how you change the thrust to steer it, and that's how the rocket changes pitch and everything else. That's how they control it. The solid rocket boosters, there is no control on it. Those just go full bore all the time. Like you probably heard that from the show there when they go from throttle up.
Yeah, we can hear him now. So just we're hearing John over Tim's phone. So John is actually on the phone with Tim, and Tim is holding the phone he's not actually in the stream because the cellular networks down there were jammed for data, but he can get audio. So we were questioning about the SRBs. What happens to them when the SRBs are spent? They eject and they fall into the ocean, and the same will happen to the main booster as well. That will fall into the ocean.
Yeah. So the launch site selection is very deliberate. The Earth is spinning from west to east. We think east to west because that's the way the stars go, but it's actually west to east. And that means that at the equator, if you're standing on the equator, you're traveling at about 1,000 miles an hour, roughly. Yep. And so that if you launch from the east coast and you launch so that the rocket is heading in the direction traveling east, you already have 1,000 mile an hour head start and added to whatever speed of the rocket itself. And so that's what helps get it up into orbit. It will do a burn. The way orbits work is if you only did the burn at launch, you would literally go out around the Earth, arc beyond the Earth, and come right back and basically scrape up against the ground from the launch pad where you launch. So what they have to do is once it gets halfway around the Earth, they fire up the engines a second time, and that rounds out the orbit on the other side of the planet.
Yeah. Now, they're not going to round out the orbit in this one, though. So what they're going to do when they do launch this, in the sometime, hopefully the summer, is they're going to launch, and when they get to they're going to do one orbit of the Earth, and when they're halfway around, they're going to reignite the engines and really increase their speed because they want to leave Earth's orbit, and they need more speed to break away from Earth's orbit and head towards the moon. Because what they need to do is get halfway to the moon, or a little bit over halfway. When they get halfway, what happens is the moon's gravity takes over and pulls them in to orbit around the moon. So yes, you can simulate this on Kerbal Space Program.
Yeah, translunar injection is the term.
Yeah.
Used, yeah.
And the plan would be to orbit the moon 6 times, or for 6 days, and gather data while they're out there to make sure they can control and do everything they need, and then eventually bring it back. That is their goal when they do launch this summer. Now that is one beautiful view.
Wow.
So okay, right now, it looks like they're in a little bit of a hole, and I think what's going on is they left the vehicle building this level, and now we're at a slight incline, the VAB, down to the crawler.
Right.
Okay. So they actually have to tilt it to bring it down. So yeah, they have to get ready to actually bring it over there, and eventually they'll tilt it up, so the vehicle will go down. Will go down the hill, and that all has to happen simultaneously, to keep it level.
Okay, and they are turning it now. And So it is coming almost directly at me right now. Now I can see the right solid booster. I'm only seeing the left solid booster. So they are in.
Yeah, we can actually see it turning right now as well. We can see it pivot a little bit because if you look on the right hand side, you can start to see more and more of that side of the crawler starting to come around. So this is really cool, guys. So this is history, right? This is history for everything. So yeah, well, we're hoping there is no what SpaceX lovingly call RUDs, rapid unscheduled disassemblies.
Well, this isn't fueled.
Sorry?
This is not fueled right now.
This is not fuel. This is an empty tank. And they never fuel it when they move it out anyway because it'll be too heavy. They fuel it at the launch pad when they actually bring it out to the launch pad and dock it into the launch pad. That's where they actually make all the connections and that's where they do all the fueling. They do it and they don't do it until before launch. But the whole purpose of this is one, to get it out to the launch pad and to make sure everything goes smoothly to do that. And that's an 8-hour drive to cover 4 miles. And then, or 8.5, maybe 9 hours, maybe. And then once out there, in the beginning of next month, around the 3rd of next month, they plan to. The schedule is right now to do the wet dress rehearsal, which means they will fuel it. They will load it with LOX, with liquid oxygen. They will load it with liquid hydrogen. They will get it fueled up. They will run through the countdown from beginning to end, right up to about 10 seconds before countdown ends. And at that point, they'll stop because at 10 seconds is when they initialize the pre-igniters to get everything going, and just so the fuel starts burning in the engines. So at T-minus 10, they will stop, and this is their dress rehearsal to make sure they're ready and they can run through the process. And after that, they'll detank it, remove all the fuel, and they'll bring it back into the VAB again, and they'll get it prepped for launch sometime after June 1st. So we do not have the audio. The feed has no audio, so you have our commentary. But that is actually looking fantastic.
Yeah, this is really looking good. I'm just thinking of like the Falcon 9, and those solid boosters look almost the size of the Falcon 9. And then, the Falcon 9 is also after a big launch where these are pristine, shiny white paint on it, with the massive worm on the side. It's just
so there are estimates on cost. I don't know the cost of the SRBs individually, but the estimate has been about, for a launch, about $2 billion. That may change. That does not include development cost, as far as I know. The latest estimate that I've heard, and I don't think that has been validated yet, but the latest number I've heard is someone mentioned the word $4 billion, but I don't think it's going to be that much. I don't know where that number, the details of where that number came from, but officially they're stating it's $2 billion is what they're saying right now. So this is looking phenomenal. How often am I stuck for words to say?
right now the sun is going behind the VAB.
I see it. Yeah, it's in shadow right now. So let's talk a little bit about the rocket. The core stage of the rocket stands 27.6 feet tall, and it stores 730,000 gallons of super cool liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, that fuel the RS-25 engines, of which it has 4. It is built. The core stage was built in New Orleans, and they did some green run tests in the Space Center in Mississippi, where they actually burned the engine for its full duration to prove that it works. So there's going to, as Tim said a while ago, there are a few stages of it. There is going to be an SLS Block 1 crew, which is what you're seeing right now. There's going to be an SLS Block 1 cargo. The difference between the crew and the cargo is obviously the Orion capsule is not on there, and the top of the crew one, or the cargo one, does not have that point, which is actually the
Well,
ejection.
good evening, Kennedy Space Center.
Oh, we have a live feed, so let's
Thank
go
you
over
all
there.
for joining us for this
As
historic
we have audio on
event, and I
this.
think an emotional event for a lot of us out here today. I am so happy that so many joining us today with our workforce. Our loved ones are joining us out here today, as many of you also have made so many sacrifices over the years to get to this milestone. This year, Kennedy Space Center celebrates 60 years supporting America's space program. And as we take some time to reflect on the 6 decades of science and exploration, it really seems fitting that we look ahead, celebrate this milestone, our first step to returning to the moon. You know, every single vehicle that has carried humans beyond the bounds of low Earth orbit has undergone integration and testing in that vehicle assembly building, crawled down this roadway and launched right here from the Kennedy Space Center. Tonight, after years of meticulous planning, development, integration, testing, the Space Launch System, mated with the Orion spacecraft, will continue this proud tradition, leaving the VAB, as you see in front of you, to make its way to the pad for the very first time. And just as all eyes are on the SLS tonight as it makes its journey, in a few short weeks, all eyes are going to be on the sky as it rocks the space coast and takes its maiden flight around the moon and then comes back. You know, 60 years ago, Kennedy Space Center was established to meet the challenge of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. Through Artemis, we will see the first woman and the first person of color on the lunar surface. We'll develop and implement the science necessary for a long-term human presence in deep space, and we will utilize this knowledge to prepare for future human missions to Mars. Today, we honor that legacy for those who paved the way before us, and as we blaze a new trail and contribute to a new chapter in our history of our nation and of this agency. It's now my pleasure to introduce you tonight to someone who has served in public office for over 4 decades, first in the state legislature, then as a U.S. congressman, then as a state treasurer. He was elected 3 times to the United States Senate and represents my home state of Florida for 18 years. And in 1986, he flew on the 24th flight of the space shuttle, where he served as a payload specialist on STS-61 aboard Space Shuttle Columbia. His passion and his commitment to the agency and its mission are helping NASA to continue to advance the frontiers of knowledge and exploration. So please help me and join in welcoming our NASA Administrator, Senator Bill Nelson.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world's most powerful rocket ever, right here. And it's back to the moon and then on to Mars. Let's hear it for the musicians at the University of Central Florida. I want to give a shout out to the more than 24 members of the crawler transporter team. They are transporting SLS out to the launch pad. And the team is led by Bob Myers, who is at the wheel of the crawler. Across the nation are sacred sites that capture the spirit of America's character. And one of those places is right here, the Kennedy Space Center. At these launch pads, remarkable individuals achieve unthinkable things. And 60 years ago, an American pioneer propelled upwards to the heavens from Launch Complex 14. And that legendary explorer is John Glenn. That spacecraft, Friendship 7, orbited the Earth 3 times. And that was the day that America's space program went full throttle. It gave way to the Apollo generation. That generation not only landed the first humans on the moon, it provided the spark that fuels today's multi-billion-dollar satellite industry. It encouraged young visionaries and kicked off a technology revolution. The modern computing era is one example. And we are very privileged to have one of those Apollo astronauts with us, General Tom Stafford, Apollo 10. Today, a new generation, not the Apollo generation, but it's the Artemis generation, is preparing to reach new frontiers. This generation will return astronauts to the moon, and this time we will land the first woman and the first person of color on the surface to conduct groundbreaking science. NASA's Artemis program will pave the way for humanity's giant leap, future missions to Mars. There's no doubt that we are in a golden era of human space exploration, discovery, and ingenuity in space. And it all begins with Artemis 1. The Space Launch System is the only rocket capable of sending humans into deep space. It's the most powerful rocket in the world. And during liftoff, it will produce 8.8 million pounds of thrust, propelling the Orion spacecraft about 240,000 miles to the moon. And Orion will venture farther than any spacecraft built for humans that has ever flown humans. It will stay in space longer than any spacecraft designed for astronauts that has ever done without docking to a space station. And after a 3-week journey of over 1 million miles, Orion will come home faster and hotter than any vehicle has before. And it wouldn't be possible without all of you here today. We are joined by thousands of members of the NASA family. It's because of you that we are here today. Our workforce has been a relentless spirit. We imagine, we build, we never stop pushing the envelope of what is possible. I often say that at NASA, the impossible is made possible. Artemis 1 will demonstrate NASA's commitment to and capacity to extend humanity's presence on the moon and beyond. But this mission is not just cementing NASA's leadership in space, it's strengthening America's small businesses. It's supporting America's universities. It's showing the might of America's scientists, mathematicians, and technicians. Artemis 1 is possible because of the contributions from all 50 states. The program is an economic engine for America. In 2019 alone, it generated $14 billion.
Video has imagery of
70,000 good people.
Maybe better.
Sorry, could you repeat there, Tim?
They probably had enough.
I'm switching over the feed to the one that's showing the rocket.
Okay, perfect. So
Right now.
yeah, I'll bring it back up. There we go. So guys, just so you know,
International partners.
there we go. Yeah.
The European Space Agency provides the European Service Module, the powerhouse of the Orion spacecraft that provides electricity, propulsion, thermal control, air, water to Orion in space. This is a critical partnership that not just for Artemis 1, but for the future Artemis missions as well. And that's
The
just
rocket-
the beginning.
Orion can carry
Thanks to
6
the
astronauts.
international collaboration, 3 so-called passengers will fly on Orion. Zohar and Helga, named by the Israel Space Agency and the German Aerospace Center, are two female mannequins. Their jobs are to provide data on radiation levels during the mission. The third passenger is a male mannequin whose name was decided by more than 300,000 people in a naming contest. And his name is Commander Munikin Campos, honoring Arturo Campos, the late member of the NASA family. Arturo helped bring the crew of Apollo 13 safely back to Earth. And a surprise, Snoopy in his orange spacesuit will hitch a ride.
That'll be the
We're
zero
also
G
taking
indicator.
advantage of additional space on SLS to launch several CubeSats in cooperation with the Japan's Aerospace Exploration Agency and the Italian Space Agency. Humanity's drive to explore the cosmos is not bound by border. Discovery strengthens diplomacy. This mission, this program, will build a global alliance that explores deep space for the benefit of all. And of course, Artemis 1 will be a major step, but our journey is far from over. This will be the first in a series of increasingly complex missions. In 2024, for the first time since Apollo 8, astronauts will return to the moon on Artemis 2. The astronauts will fly in lunar orbit, venturing farther into space than any humans have ever before. And these are not a series of isolated missions. Each will be a groundbreaking complement and component to build the presence on and around the moon and eventually beyond. And none of this is easy. Nothing NASA dares to achieve ever is. But as we have shown with this pandemic, NASA knows how to press forward. Artemis personifies why NASA needs continuity of purpose. Our missions have not achieved and were not achieved just by a single administration, but across many administrations. And I'm proud President Biden has shown strong support for these missions. And every breakthrough should be seen as a triumph for our country and all of humanity. And when the next humans walk on the moon, I hope that every single child around the world, I hope they see themselves in this new generation of explorers. NASA's history has become intertwined with the never-ending American story. The sky has never been the limit for NASA. This is our opportunity to make limitless potential of every American. It's past time to bring down the barriers that limit opportunity in underserved and underrepresented communities. It's time to anchor fairness as a core in every component in every NASA mission. Artemis missions should show every child that they can dream it. If they can dream it, they can be it. And perhaps they will one day join the NASA family as a technician or a mathematician. Maybe they'll walk on the moon or be the pioneers who venture onward to Mars. This is what NASA does best. We unify, we discover, we inspire. And from this sacred and historical place, humanity will soon embark on a new era of exploration. Aboard this spacecraft will be a flash drive. It will hold the names of over 1 million individuals from around the world. That flash drive will contain more than names. It will represent our stories, who we are. The child who imagines themselves soaring in the skies. The student who burns the midnight oil at the library so they can build a rocket and a spacecraft like this one. The NASA employee who gazes up at the moon every night, knowing that their work will soon return humankind to the lunar surface. And when this monster rocket lifts off, it will carry all of our greatest hopes in the heavens. Every single person who dreams of discoveries will see many more in our lifetime. I want to thank all of you, all of these workers, the whole space team, the family of NASA, and may God bless you and the Artemis to the moon and then to Mars. God bless you.
I'm going to mute him for a second, guys. He did mention about the names on that USB stick, right? I'm just posting. Oh, why did you do that? Okay, let me mute that. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. So I just put into chat. You can get your kids, get your family members, or whoever you want to go to that URL link that I just posted, a NASA.gov URL link, and they can fill in the information in there, and their names will be on that stick that will go to the moon, that will orbit the moon, and they actually give you printable. We can print out your own like airplane tickets, right? Boarding passes for the Artemis 1 program so it'll be a nice, cool thing for your kids to have. So go to that link. You can actually fill in the details, get one for yourself, get one for your family members, print out the boarding passes, sending to people, say, look, guys, your name is going to be on a trip around the moon.
All right, guys, what I'm seeing here now is up almost to the top and would be to your right. There's a catwalk that they've been moving. It was stretched out, and now they're retracting it. I don't know what that's about, but that is the only thing I see moving at this point.
Okay.
We're seeing a band now. We're not seeing the rocket.
Yeah, they're showing us the band playing right now. There we go. There's a rocket in the right corner. We don't care about the celebs. We want to pan the camera over to the rocket, please. There we go. That's what we want to see. Yeah, that is so cool, right, guys? So make sure if you go to that URL link, get your kids to fill in their details. You fill in your details, print out the little launch cards, and then have them, because basically what you get out is a boarding card for the rocket. Your name is actually going on board it when it does go for the strip around the moon in sometime after June 1st. But they may have cell phones mounted for their music, but they're not getting cell phone coverage out there. John is verifying there is no data streams out there because cell phones are jam-packed. Now, by the way, those launches, those tickets that I said about the boarding passes, every NASA mission does something like this. So every time there's a new mission, you should figure out if there is one out there. And it's like I think my name is on something like 20 spacecraft at this point, maybe more, because every time they do a mission, I get one of these boarding passes. My name gets written up by laser on a chip, like on some of the spacecraft that's up there. They actually have laser engraved it. Let's see what's happening here.
How do you feel being here? Let's take a look right here. This rocket's almost out of view.
It's on its way. It's going. That's what we came here for, though. And it is a great day. And, honestly, the most important thing that I can say is I'm just really happy for all the folks who worked hard to make this a reality. And I'm here to celebrate with them and also to celebrate them. It's a great day.
When you found out that you were going to be here for Rollout, were you like, yes?
I was going to be here for Rollout no matter what, even if I had to pay for my own ticket. But, when I found out I get to do this, I was like, yes. It's just a special place for me. I love Kennedy Space Center, and especially when there's a rocket out on the crawlerway.
Yeah, just seeing the rocket here, does it make the Artemis mission seem more real?
Always. There's in the astronaut office, we tell people, hey, if you ever have a chance to go see space flight hardware, go do it. Doesn't matter what it's for, go see it. It helps you do your job better, and that's absolutely true today. I've seen a lot of, PowerPoint slides and read a lot of briefings about this, but to see it all stacked on the mobile launcher, on the crawler transporter, it just makes it so much more real.
Oh, absolutely. And you're, again, one of the lucky few. 18 astronauts were chosen for the Artemis team. How does it feel to be part of that team?
Honestly, you know what? I've talked to folks a lot about this today, and when we make that call for Artemis 2, when we tell the crew that you're go for translunar injection, we're saying, hey, everything is good, go to the moon. Whatever position I'm in, whether it's at home on my couch, whether I'm on the Houston side of that call, or if I'm in space on that side of the call, it doesn't matter. To be a little part of this and to get to help in any way is really, truly an honor. And so the whole Artemis team and really the entire astronaut office, it's all of us are, honored to be able to help out and make this hardware and software a reality. So I'm excited for whoever gets to do it. And whatever part of that call I get to be on, I'm excited for the crew that actually gets to go.
Yeah.
When they go, I'll be excited for them.
Excited? Are you also anxious? I mean, the moon is a lot farther than the ISS, and I know you've been to the ISS.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. It's 1,000 times farther, right? The ISS orbit's at 250 miles. The moon's 240,000 miles away. And so it's interesting. I like to say it's not just 1,000 times farther, but it's probably 1,000 times more complicated of a mission. So many more things have to go right. And it's also when we add Artemis 3 and we're going to the surface now, you have to get from the surface of the moon back to lunar orbit, which is like the equivalent of launching a low Earth orbit mission from Earth. So very complicated mission. And so we have a lot of work ahead of us. But we're going to get it done. And it'll be all starting with this one, with Artemis 1.
What do you think of the fact everything that you just described seems, no pun intended, out of this world? And the fact that thousands of people from across the globe came together to make this today a reality, and that we're on the path to the moon, to Mars. How do you feel about that?
That is a really big part of this. That's what's special. Someone asked me earlier, talking about being part of the Artemis team. They said, hey, how does it feel, to watch your rocket? And I said, well, look, correction. I mean, this is our rocket. It's humanity's rocket. When those 4 RS-25s and those 2 solids light, I hope the whole world is watching. And I hope a lot of kids decide to study science and math because of it. And that's really what it's about, inspiring kids to go out and be their best selves. And so I am excited because this is a great step for humanity. We call things that humans come together to do, when we put aside our differences and we accomplish great things, we call them moonshots, but it's been a long time since we've actually made a moonshot. So our generation now has a chance to have our own actual moonshots.
Yeah, hearing you talk about it just makes me so excited. Your passion for this program and what's to come. Thank you so much for sharing that with me and the rest of everyone watching today. Thank you, Victor.
My pleasure. It's great to be.
So just, guys, Victor was actually the navigator on one of the SpaceX crew launches, one of the Crew Dragon launches last year. So he spent 6 months on the ISS as part of one of the Crew Dragon. So he's going to end up spending not only going on Crew Dragon, but he's also at some point going to be on board the Orion spacecraft as well.
To your inbox. You can sign up for that by scanning the QR code you see there on your screen. It will take you to this website, nasa.gov/virtual-guest, if it's easier just to write down. Again, nasa.gov/virtual-guest. And when Artemis 1 does take flight, we will, of course, have a live broadcast for you. It will start on NASA TV about 2 hours before liftoff. Let's end the show now with Grammy award-winning artist Eddie Vedder and his new song titled Invincible, a nod to this moment. Getting here was not easy. It was the work of thousands of dreamers and doers across the globe. Thanks to their invincible spirit, we are on our way to the launch pad, then the moon, then Mars. Because we are curious, we are capable, we are Artemis. Good night.
Okay, so just to give you an update of what the timeline is going to be for this, right? Is he playing there? He is. So just give you an update in the timeline. So the timeline is they have an 8-hour drive out to the launch pad, 8 to 9 hour drive, because it's 0.8 of a mile is the speed it moves when it's, and that's not barring any stops or pauses or anything along the way. And then once they're out there, they will dock it with the launch pad, and it'll be left there for about 3 weeks. And on April the 3rd, I believe, April 2nd or 3rd, their timeline is to do a wet dress rehearsal during that. And the wet dress rehearsal means fuel up the spacecraft. They go through the rundown of countdown from beginning all the way down to about 10 seconds before countdown. And at 10 seconds before countdown, they stop it, so there's no engine ignition. And then after that, they will return it back to the VAB. And then they will do some retrofitting on it, whatever has to be done to get it ready for humans flight, or for the initial flight. And then the initial flight is going to happen sometime after June 1st. And that flight will be a launch to orbit the Earth once, and then increase their speed, head to the moon, spend 6 days orbiting the moon, and then return back from the moon back towards Earth, in the orbit of Earth again.
Hey, Liam, let me interrupt you here for a minute.
Go ahead.
I got a site here that is just unbelievable right now. We're looking at the superstructure, and we're seeing a little bit of room to, it would be to your right, but it looks like there's almost a projection of the moon that is inside the VAB as a backdrop to this rocket.
No. Make sure you get photographs of that while you're there, John. I'm expecting lots of great photographs and great video that you're going to grab yourself while you're down there, because we have obviously limited views, and you have so much better view, and we're also jealous of you. But I'm hoping that we can get back when you do return. We have some really cool video.
Just the sun coming through, but it's like a spotlight on the wall, on the back wall of the VAB, opposite where the rocket is right now. It's just jaw-dropping right now.
The full moon is tonight at about 3:30-ish a.m. Moonrise is at 7:08, so it's not up yet.
Yeah.
No, this is definitely a projection inside the building.
Oh.
Cool. So it's really cool that we can do this, and it's really cool that we're getting there, and this rocket is rolling out. We're not going to keep going for much longer for the stream, because the whole idea of the stream was to show you the rollout, which you've seen, to show you the first view of the rocket. This is going through the where they brought in the various components. This is the main booster. With the SC-25 engines, or SD-25s engines, and this is where they bring it in and stand it all upright, and then start to go through the assembly process to assemble the various sections of the rocket in the VAB. This is what you're seeing right now on screen, and it's a slow process. And they did the same for Saturn V. They did the same for the space shuttle. And now it's Artemis's turn to use that space. It's been retrofitted for them.
One of the things that the NASA administrator, Bill Nelson, was saying about this rocket coming in hotter than ever, what he meant by that was after it's on its return from the moon, it's going to be coming in to the Earth's atmosphere at about 2,500 miles an hour. Or wait a minute, no, 2,500 miles an hour. And once it hits the atmosphere, it has to bleed off that speed, and it'll bleed off the speed by the friction of the atmosphere. And when it gets to a point of about 300 miles an hour, then that's when the parachute deployment starts. First with the drogue chutes, and then the secondary chutes, and then the primaries.
Yeah, well, it has an ablative shielding on the bottom, which actually acts as an air brake when it comes through the atmosphere. And you see video and so on of them in movies of the flames and so on around the spacecraft. What it actually is plasma, because as the spacecraft moves through the air, it creates so much friction, it superheats the air around it and creates a plasma around it. That's why you also have signal dropout because it's really hard to get a radio signal through a ball of plasma, through that signal. So the Chris asked a question there. Just 1 second, Tim. He asked, how fast does a carrier move? It moves at a maximum of 2 miles per hour, but once fully loaded, like it is right now, it is moving at 0.8 miles per hour, and it has a 4-mile trip to get out there. So it's around 8.5 to 9 hours to drive 4 miles to bring the spacecraft to the launch pad.
And what was the fuel combustion rate? John mentioned that earlier.
Oh, I'm trying to
The rate
remember.
of fuel combustion per hour.
1 gallon per 32 feet.
Oh, 1 gallon every 32 feet. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So 168 gallons per mile.
Yeah. So nobody ever complain about the fuel efficiency of your trucks ever again.
Yeah.
So and it's not actually a diesel engine. It's a diesel engine that actually powers electric motors is how it operates. Like you have on a train. Trains operate in the same manner. Because you need instant torque to get it moving. So the engines are actually only generators is all they are. So this is really cool, guys. We saw it roll out of the launch out of the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building. This is Artemis, or this is block 1. So there are various blocks of this, and this is block 1. And the block 1 is has a maximum thrust of 8.8 million pounds. The block 1 cargo will be the same. It just won't have a crew capsule. Block 2, SLS block 1B crew will have an 8.9 million pounds thrust. The same as the cargo, and the block 2 crew, when they get to block 2, it'll be 9.5 million pounds of thrust.
Yeah, you can see near the top where the main body narrows in, and that's the next stage up there, and that's the interim cryogenic propulsion system, ICPS, and that's about 25,000 pounds of thrust.
Yeah,
and that's what will take it out of orbit and toward the moon, accelerate translunar projection.
So this version, block 1, can lift 27 ton or 59.5 kilos or 59.5 thousand pounds. The block 1B will be able to lift 83.7 thousand pounds. And then we'll go up as far as block 2 with crew can do 94.7, and block 2 cargo will be able to do 101.4 thousand pounds of lift. So that's how much mass they can carry into space. So, any other questions? Anybody have any questions here? So when you guys are going to leave my planet? Yeah, okay. So any questions about the SLS? Even about Orion? As I said, the plan is they're going to bring it out there tonight. It'll be arriving by sometime during the night, and wet dress rehearsal is on I think it's the 2nd or the 3rd of next month at 7 a.m. in the morning. They're going to start the wet dress rehearsal and go through a countdown and stop it before ignition. And then sometime after June, they plan to launch it with 3 mannequins on board. Now, something interesting they said. Did you notice that they said that on the spacecraft they're going to have the Snoopy astronaut with his orange jumpsuit? What's interesting is that is telling us they're going to have live cameras inside the capsule for launch. Because why do you need a zero gravity indicator if you're not going to be showing video of zero gravity? So we are going to see, it sounds like they're going to have live video on, not only for the launch on the outside, but once they get into orbit, they're going to have a zero gravity feed and they're going to turn it on, and all the way to the moon, they're going to have external, it sounds like they're going to have internal and external cameras. That's what it sounds like to me. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. this is a pretty exciting time. I have memories of my childhood watching Apollo launch, and I remember watching Apollo 11 launching on my black and white TV.
Well, that was around the time you were inventing the wheel, right, Tim? So I wasn't around for it. I wasn't born till after Apollo 11 launch. I was born in 1960.
Vacuum tubes in them. You needed to turn them on 5 minutes before whatever the program you wanted to watch for them to warm up. Those were the days.
This is Tim showing his age, guys. No, I never saw the Apollo stuff. I was way too young during that era.
To watch the Apollo missions on all the TVs, that when they had
the front windows,
the TV floor, the appliance floor.
Yeah. So
that was when we didn't even have a color TV.
No, we didn't either.
Oh man.
Watching Walter Cronkite with in black and white.
Yep.
Wow. So this is pretty cool. So the RS-25 engines, there's 4 of them on the main booster, and then the SRBs have RS-22s, I believe, on the SRBs, the solid state boosters, and we will be launching that to the moon sometime after June 1st. But it'll be out there on display to be seen over the next 2 to 3 weeks until the wet dress rehearsal is run, which is the beginning of next month.
Let me give you a little picture of that for anybody that's going to make a trip down here to Florida to the Cape. Pad 39B is the most northern launch pad at Cape Kennedy. And so if you want to get a good view of it, you can actually go to the National Seashore, and that's a national park, and it's called Playa Linda Beach. And it's fantastic views there. You're about 4 to 5 miles away from the launch pad. So
that's
fantastic views.
Yeah, that would be a great spot because like 5 miles away is where they have the public set up for the public and the countdown timer. That's about 5 miles away from 39A, which is where they do the SpaceX launches from.
Yeah, but you can't watch the launch from there. They block it out. And so, but when it's not the launch, when it's just sitting on the pad, you can go out to the beach, and that's a fantastic shot.
If anyone's in the Florida area and want to get photographs of it, starting tomorrow morning, it'll be on the launch pad. So, because it's going to be delivered there sometime in the next 8 hours or so, as my guess, 8 or 9 hours, and then it'll be on the launch pad tomorrow morning. And if anyone wants to go there and take photographs of it, if you're in the area, it's the right time to do it.
Oh, I just got word too that some of the media that was going to use the Starlink satellite uplink, they weren't being able to get a good link here either.
Mm.
Oh wow. It boosters as a single model. Yeah, there is a single model, but I'm sure they're going to do updated models. They tend to do updated models and break it out. So the model, I thought they had a breakout though, didn't they?
I thought they did. Let me go look at that list of models.
Yeah, I thought they had a breakout. I know they have a single one, but I thought they did have one where the SRBs were separate. Actually, mine the SRBs were separate. This small one that I have here, the SRBs on this were separate. So there is a version out there. 1972 color TV. Right. Well, I was 2 years old at that point. I wasn't really watching TV. But so we've seen it. We've seen it being off the launch pad. They're done with the stream. I'm going to take this out, Tim, because they're done with their live feed. And I hope you all found it interesting and informative. Just both Tim, myself, and John McGill, who's he was actually on audio only. John is actually at the Cape right now, but we're all part of the Ford Amateur Astronomy Club, and our club runs a TV show called Astronomy for Everyone, which is on YouTube. Each month there's new episodes. So if you go to youtube.com/astronomy for everyone, it'll bring it to that. And there is 10 years of video out there, or all astronomy related, going back for a long time. So if you want to go back and check it out, please do so. And we always appreciate follows on that. And those of you who are on Facebook, please give us a thumbs up. It helps a lot. And those of you on my Twitch channel, follows don't cost you a penny. Follows are free if you're on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/astroprinter. I'm a maker, so I have a channel about 3D printing and making, but I also do astronomy and stuff as well. So guys, check it out, and thank you for hanging out with us today. It was fun. We saw history in the making. How excited are you, Tim?
Oh, I'm pretty hyped about this. This and the web, both.
2 in 1 year, and now we're gonna get 3 this year. We're going to get SLS. We have James Webb, which is actually going through calibration right now. Yep. SLS is going to go through a wet dress rehearsal and to launch sometime this year. And we probably have Starship as well coming up soon, because they're supposed to get the yay or nay from the environmental SpaceXR by the end of this month, or beginning of next month, second or third of next month. So they're eager to get launching as well, to go into to put Starship into orbit. So we're going to have a triple hitter this year.
John, did you add something?
Plus, we're going to have the Falcon Heavy going off.
Oh, Falcon Heavy.
We have another Falcon Heavy. That's right. I forgot about that one.
I was going to say, right now we're at 11 launches out of Kennedy, so that's almost 1 a week. So tomorrow is going to be number 12 if Starlink goes off tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny comments. I actually got a haircut, but thank you for noticing. Oh, these guys are funny. Now you see why I hang out with them. They give me abuse all the time. Well, guys, I think that's it for us. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It was fun. We saw history in the making. Keep checking back the NASA Live website, because they will be doing more updates on it. They will be showing more feeds. I'm sure they will. They'll be doing a lot more talking about it. Watch out for the wet dress rehearsal, where they actually fuel the rocket, and then keep an eye out for sometime after June when they actually do a launch with 3 mannequins in there, with sensors on them to measure the impact on people who are going to be on board, the crew, because eventually this can carry 6 crew to the moon. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. It was fun as always, and take care and have a great evening. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.